Oh, good evening, Virtuafriend. How are you doing? I'm personally feeling nostalgic. I watched Asmongold play through Monster Hunter World in Iceborne, and it was pretty entertaining. There's something genuine about watching a hunter take their first steps. There is also something truly hilarious about watching someone fail miserably because they don't listen to their handler. I kept wanting to talk about my experiences growing up in Monster Hunter, especially with this year's anniversary, but my stories could go for hours and hours. Since I've gotten back into World and Rise recently, I figured it's a good time to talk about what features I want in Wilds. You got a little while to sit and chat? Yeah, sure, I'll show you. Hey, virtual friend, I'll be right back. 2004. I had just enough money for a memory card for my birthday gifts, so I went to my local GameStop to pick one up. I still remember it to this day. A bright yellow Mad Catz memory card, the cheapest and smallest size they had, but just enough for the few PS2 games I was playing at the time. The line was long, and I distinctly remember the phone constantly ringing, along with, "Thank you for calling GameStop." My dad went to another store seeing that the line was so long, so I just decided to look around while I waited. At the time, there were still PS1 games in a giant wire bin in the middle of the store. They were only a few bucks a piece, but I had just enough for a memory card, so I kept fumbling around aimlessly. Then I saw it, the beat up case. It had 3 or 4 pre owned stickers stacked on top, the only copy on the shelf. It looked so cool, a photo of the now notorious Rathlos roaring, but for my ignorant eyes, it was just a giant red dragon. In the front was a hunter with a giant jaw as a sword, ready for battle. On the back was the same hunter at dusk, standing over a defeated beast. I saw the online play stamped on the front, but I was still on dial up at the time. There was no way I'd have a chance to play with others. I mean, I didn't care though. My imagination ran wild. Me fighting giant monsters and overcoming them to save my village. If I was going to conquer this beast, though, it'd have to be weeks away since I was broke again. The memory card for Kingdom Hearts was definitely needed. Contrary to belief, I'm an old man. At least, that's what the Monster Hunter community calls me. I'm a Gen 1 hunter, through and through. The weapon arts, different abilities, and niche tech each game throws at you just always seem like rocket science to me. I just know the tried and true method of roll, block, smash, and of course, scream and dive bomb away. Recording gameplay wasn't really a thing in 2004. The hardware was far from obtainable for the average Joe, so all you could really do was read FAQs to try and figure out what weapon looked the coolest. If you wanted to try and talk to someone, you'd have to join random websites and forums. G4 never really talked about Monster Hunter, so TV was out of the question. In the game, there was no real help. No markers or info to get materials. Just loadable zones and a monster to hunt. When you accept the quest, you didn't even really know what the monster would look like. You need paintballs and all of your tools were finite. Sometimes you go to mine ore and your pickaxe would break on the first swing. Jan Kuku was the biggest pain to ever walk the earth. Seriously, he was the first big urgent monster you fought, a giant chicken. A giant chicken was a barrier for so many young hunters. His roar still plays in my head. I would try every morning before school to kill him, and every morning I'd fail. I mean, I still have PTSD from this day. Sure, I got past him soon enough, and even other urgent quests, but that stupid chicken still sits in my head flopping around. Don't even get me started on egg quests or Plesio. If I had just one person with me, or maybe even an NPC to help, I could have fought off Velocipray and other annoyances and killed Jan Kuku a lot quicker. But I was all by myself, getting carded day and night, and watching the egg I carried fall to the ground over and over again. For those who don't know, the first egg quest you got was mandatory, the only way you could advance the story. With all this bashing, you'd think I hated the game, but for some reason I loved it. I mean, the stupid right stick was how you had to swing your sword. Everything was against it, but for some reason fighting and overcoming big monsters seemed obtainable and drove me to retry missions again and again. The next core memory is Monster Hunter Freedom on the PSP. I wanted a PSP for so long that it took 8 months, if I'm not mistaken, to save up for it. All of my buddies had a PSP, but still no one knew what Monster Hunter was. The only time someone actually tried to see what I was playing was at field day in middle school, and the kid said it looked lame. Fuck that kid. Even though you could access the internet on the PSP, you still couldn't play online through matchmaking or lobbies like today. You'd have to enter what was called ad hoc mode to connect to other PSPs around you. You get around this by tricking your PSP into thinking a PS3 was another player, but there still wasn't matchmaking. You need your buddy's info. Disconnection issues happen so frequently too. The coolest part about Freedom was the initiation of G rank. It's a staple now, but when it first came up, it was insane. Quests didn't scale to the amount of people in the party, so if it was just you, you better hope you could beat that boss in time, because let me tell you, it was no joke. Compared to Rise, the older game's missions were about 5 times as long. Some battles such as Lao Shen Lung were borderline impossible for just one player. I remember throwing my PSP into the grass because I could never defeat him in time. He just always marched past me to my defeat. I could just never stop him. I'm not sure if I could beat him solo even now if I went back and played. Freedom Unite was where it all made sense to me. You got your very first partner, your first Palico. He'd shake you out of a daze, provide some help, and even smack the monster here or there. It felt really awesome having your own buddy to go on trips with you, even if you did literally no damage. And that's what I really want to focus on for Sunbreak and hopefully Wilds. I know a lot of the community craps on Rise, but having followers in Sunbreak is amazing. I can't help but think, if I had just one teammate while fighting Jan Kuku, could I have killed him sooner? Or if I had a party, maybe I could have stopped Lao Shen. Or even finished my full set of Akantar armor. But guess I'll never know. Yeah, sure, I still got some in the back. Hey, Virtuafriend, I'll be right back. I was watching the Steak and Eggs podcast earlier today, and the newest episode hit on a few good points for me. They said something along the lines of, if Armored Core 6 came out 5 years ago, it would have been great. If it came out 5 years from now, it'd still be great. Honestly, when I think of Rise, I think of the same thing, but because of the follower system. When Dragon's Dogma came out, people bashed it. Everyone was getting into Xbox Live and playing online with friends. Then here comes a game that, instead of playing with your friends, you could play with their creations instead. At the time, I was on the bandwagon. I didn't like the pawn system. I wanted to explore with my buddies. I wasn't thinking about, 10 years down the line, picking this game up on a Steam sale, or advancing when someone does want to play. I was just thinking about that moment. I mean, what would have happened if they did that? Now, though, I can just boot up the game and enjoy it at my own pace. I don't have to worry about having enough people or if I have enough DPS. I know I'll always have my friends' creations with me. Like, a piece of them is there playing with me. They communicate crucial details and provide an honestly better experience than a third of the random people I played with in online games in the past. Disclaimer first and foremost, DRM was added to Rise for whatever reason. It messed up everyone's mods and made it to where you couldn't play on the Steam Deck. I believe the Steam Deck issue is fixed now, but I have no idea about the mods. I went back to Monster Hunter World recently, and something felt artificial about it. I mean, everyone kept praising it on its realistic atmosphere, graphics, and slower pace, but I just don't think it's all it's cracked up to be anymore. I mean, the map feels too big and convoluted, traversing vertically is a hit or miss, and on top of that, even if you shoot an SOS flare for people to join, you may not get the help you're looking for, or, I mean, any help at that. I played thousands of hours in World. I love it, but these few thoughts are just always in the back of my head when I play. The monsters now feel designed around team-based tactics. Without another player to level the aggro, a Tigrex is going to nosedive around you day in and day out. I mean, I kicked his ass back on the PSP. I'm no trash player. That's why I have the experience and knowledge to complain. You can still solo all the monsters, but I still get that feeling in the back of my head like, if only someone else was here, I could lay down a trap or sharpen my sword sooner. I beat all the world in Iceborne, first on PS4, then on Steam. The first time, I played almost exclusively with my buddies. All of us pre-ordered it because I would not shut up about it. We almost never completed quests with each other. Our sets were almost identical. Though we used different weapon styles, we still found a way to support each other. Playing the second time on Steam was fun, but honestly felt so lonely. Like I was back to my childhood self all over again. Not a lot of my friends were up to the challenge of a new game. Even less had a PC. So I just started firing up players, and for sure, the community was great, but once that mission ended, everybody whisked away with the wind. Once it started Iceborne, I soon found out that any quest that wasn't part of the main story was a flip of the coin if I could find help. I never felt that way with Sunbreak though. I knew starting up Rise that it would be the same experience. With the Steam release, quests were flying by. Most of the times when I failed to join a quest, it wasn't because no one was there. It was because they were finishing the quest so quickly. The base game of Rise isn't tough. Plus, the multiplayer and single-player quests are linked, so you could always find a way to move forward. Sunbreak, with the addition of G rank once again, gave me that feeling of PTSD. I was starting to have a hard time finding help only a few months after release. I guess the complaints about Rise feeling like a downgrade were eating the Steam community internally. Plus, with Rise being on Game Pass, a lot of the community probably moved that way since you could play on Xbox and PC, plus cross-save. Finding matches were harder and harder. You can't see lobbies in progress, so whenever I get a matchmaking failed message, I was starting to think, well, is anyone still playing? Luckily, in November of 22, Title Update 3 offered a solution to all my worries. Instead of working with new characters solely on specific missions, they can now accompany you on any single-player mission. It felt like my inner child could throw out that fear of fighting alone. Sure, they aren't the best damage dealers or supports, but they don't cart, and they're always there for you. Each follower plays differently. They can use 4 different weapons as well. It's almost like you could find an exact person to fill that role you're missing. Sure, they aren't the biggest damage dealers, but when you use them compared to actual players, it feels like a much better fit. I mean, the hunts last about 10 to 15 minutes, but when you use followers, it's fun. Everyone's interacting and communicating and yelling, and I don't know, I just feel like a part of a hunt. Imagine in Wilds if you can customize your own follower, just like a Palico or Palamute. They could then visit your friends and help them out during missions. If they've already completed that mission or fought that monster, they could provide useful info. Or if they're new to that monster, they can come back and inform you. My other thought was, what if you could just bring your friend's character out on hunts with you? Like you're exploring the desert region, and you come across your buddy's character, and you ask them to join you on your hunt. Maybe they're out mining materials or running a mission like you can with Palicos, and you find them actually out and about. After a successful hunt, your friend logs back on and see they have new materials. I feel like the possibilities are almost endless with the follower feature. Look, I know Rise isn't the best experience, but as a Gen 1 player, I really hope followers make a return. I played almost all the Monster Hunter titles, and the one thing missing in almost all of my playtime was someone to play with. I just, I know I'll be able to play Sunbreak 5 years from now, but will Monster Hunter World still have people responding to SOS signals? I'm not expecting Sunbreak to be an everlong game. I just wish people could go back and enjoy the series without the same questions I had growing up. Hunters working together makes for a fun and entertaining gameplay experience, but fighting solo has never felt as rewarding or fulfilling to me. If Wilds, or heck any similar game, takes any features from Sunbreak, I hope it's the followers for solo players. Oh gosh, Virtuafriend, you really let me ramble this time. Look, I'd love to talk about Monster Hunter more with you anytime you like. Maybe we can go on a few hunts together. I mean, we still have till what, 2025 for Wilds to come out? So if you need me, I'll be on Sunbreak and World. Just kidding, I'll be working here. Anyways, Virtuafriend, I appreciate you coming in and talking with me. You're a great friend. I hope you have a wonderful night, and I'll see you next time. Peace.